Judge Roy Moore announces massive action against Washington Post after false, untrue, and desperate smear pieces. During a Sunday evening event which was closed to the press, Judge Roy Moore, the GOP nominee for the United States Senate, announced that he plans to sue the Washington Post for its smear pieces against him. Although this event was closed, Breitbart News received the inside scoop. Shortly after becoming the Republican nominee for the United States, the Washington Post published an article attacking me and my wife, my foundation for moral law in Montgomery, Alabama, on my salary. Moore announced to a crowd, about 100 supporters at the Huntsville Christian Academy. They said I took over $1 million. There were not $1 million. I wish I had $1 million. In fact, I didn't take the money they awarded me for a salary because I had my own recognition and opted to embrace that salary myself and not take anything from the foundation. So my salary collection wasn't so much. Over 8 years, it would have been about $87,000 a year. So I had to take a note and a mortgage for the rest of it, but I never got the money. So the Washington Post finally realized this after they published an article saying my wife and I got $1 million, saying you didn't pay taxes for what you didn't get. The audience laughed before Moore continued. So I was wondering where they got that idea. They talked about control of the money. We didn't have control of the money, Moore said. Anyway, to make a long story short, they kind of failed. So about 30 days before the general election, just the other day, the Washington Post published another attack on my character and reputation because they are desperate to stop my political campaign. These attacks said I was with a minor child and are false and untrue, and for which they will be sued. These attacks are over things that supposedly happened 40 years ago, Moore said. Some of you aren't old enough to remember 40 years ago because you weren't born. But if you were born, it's difficult to go back 40 years ago. I've been married for 33 years, nearly. It will be December 14th. Gotta remember that. The crowd laughed again. I've been married 32 years so far. It will be 33 in a few weeks, Moore continued. We have 4 children. I have a daughter. I have 5 granddaughters. I have the highest regard for the protection of young ladies. When I returned to Gadsden 40 years ago after military service, I went to work at the office of the district attorney. I have been a student of the law for over 40 years, in and out of public office, served as a judge, a prosecutor, a defense lawyer, then Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court. To be attacked for sexual impropriety contradicts my entire career in law. I want to make this clear. I have not provided alcoholic beverages to a minor. I have not been guilty of sexual misconduct with anyone. These allegations come only 4 weeks, 30 days before the general election. Why now? For 40 years, I've been so scrutinized in the press, investigated by the Attorney General, at one time, years ago, investigated by the Judicial Inquiry Commission of the Court of the Judiciary. I've run 5 statewide campaigns, every one of them hotly contested. 3 county elections, every one of them hotly contested. And you know I've been at the center of 2 national controversies over religious liberty, one over the 10 Commandments, the other over same-sex marriage. To think that these charges come just 30 days prior to the general election is incomprehensible. The crowd broke into another standing ovation for the judge. I'll tell you why now, because there are groups that don't want me in the United States Senate, Moore said. There's the Democratic Party. They don't want to see me in the United States Senate. There's the Republican establishment, which has spent over $30 million to keep me out of the United States Senate. You put them together and they realize my opponent is 11 points behind. They're desperate. Then Moore explained why the GOP establishment is so terrified of him. You saw why would the Republicans want to back the Democrat, Moore asked. Doesn't that seem strange, odd? Well, not so, because they'd rather have him for 2 years and then elect a Republican from the establishment, then elect me and have me there for 2 years. They are all in it together, he continued. This article is a prime example of fake news and an attempt to divert attention from the true issues facing our country, like healthcare, immigration, tax reform, military readiness, and the national debt. We do not intend to let the Democrats, we do not intend to let the establishment Republicans, we do not intend to let anybody prevent us from finishing this race. We expect the people of Alabama to see through this charade, and we will continue our effort. When asked how soon he would initiate the lawsuit on the Washington Post, Moore replied, "We have to investigate the charges, which is what we are doing. They only published this last week, and now we're finding a lot of things that need to be brought into the public light that haven't been yet. As soon as we get ready, we will give them notice before that time," he concluded. I totally agree with him. After 40 years, now you come? This is the establishment, the rhinos, and the Democrats. They don't want him in office, and that they're pumping a smear campaign in order to get rid of him because they're losing. They're losing their power. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.